Hey guys, my name is Adnan Hasbi, and I'd like to wish you a warm welcome to this episode of Rambling of an Analyst. In today's episode, I actually was inspired by one of the books I've been reading. And the example that they gave in this book, I shall tell you guys. In this book, they talked a little bit about habits and how habits help shape our results in the future. So let's talk a little bit about this book. Let's talk a bit about the results one can get if they have good habits. And finally, we'll talk about how we can actually use this particular lessons from this book towards our success in, say, our financial or our investments, or maybe even when we want to start up a small business. So this book talked about three people, okay? Mr. A, Mr. B, and Mr. C. Mr. A, he was, all of these three people, by the way, are roommates, okay? So Mr. A, B, and C, when you look at them at that point of time, they all seem to be the same. Same size, same height. They also have same financial, in terms of their financial well-being, they all have the same amount of money in their wallets, okay? So they all come from the same family background. So Mr. A, the only difference between all three of these people are their small habits. So Mr. A has this habit where he is relatively unmotivated, and he likes to sit in front of the television and he likes to play video games the whole day. Okay, that's Mr. A. Mr. B, however, he's a bit he's like the person that does everything, you know. He loves his little naps, he loves his video games, and at the same time, every once in a while he'll read newspapers which comes over in the house. Mr. C, however, is a person that he loves to read self-improvement books, he likes to read investment books, he likes to improve himself. Every evening he likes to go for his walk. Okay, so if you were to fast forward maybe 1 or 2 years down the road, I'm sure you will already know the results. Mr. A, being relatively unmotivated and he loves playing his video games, after 2 years, he put on a bit of weight, and in terms of his job career, it was not promising for Mr. A. Mr. B, however, he got a job, but in his job, he's relatively stagnant. He wasn't moving anywhere. He was just, cruising in his job. While Mr. C, he reads a lot of self-improvement books. He continued improving himself, and he continued to do his evening walks. And what happened was that he was relatively successful in his job, and also he was relatively successful in his weight. So he was relatively healthy. So over here, in this small little story, we can see that little habits help compound our results, right? So lesson number one over here is that sometimes it's the small little things that we do on a daily basis that will give us the big returns down maybe 1 or 2 years down the road. So over here, let me ask all of these subscribers out there, what small little habits have you guys taken in the past couple of days to help you push yourself towards your success? So over here, what I would suggest all of us to do is write down on a piece of paper what we want to achieve. After we know our end goal, we then look at what small little habits that we can take on a daily basis. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two over here is that I think most of us, every time when we invest, right, we always look, so we start reading a small article, the next day we invest. And sometimes some people, they may lose a bit of money. What I want to say over here is that when we want to be an expert in a certain skill, we need to gather as much information as possible. So we cannot compare ourselves after reading a smaller article with, say, maybe a person which has been in industry for 20 years, right? It's, I think, so it's not quite a fair comparison. right? So over here, what I want to say is that it's good that we always pick up the small little habits on a daily basis to improve ourselves. But having said that, if we lose a bit of money for our investment, don't worry. It's the overall process. We will definitely get to our goals to be that super duper investor. But if we lose a little bit, it's fine. It's a small lesson. At the end of the day, right, it's the skill that will help you make the money. Remember that. It's the skill and it's a small discipline and it's a small dedication that will help us reach our success, right? That's the second thing over here. And the third thing which I want to say, which is, I guess, relatively important, is that today, or maybe the past, during this whole PKP, what habits have we taken, right? For me, I can honestly say that I have been struggling, you know. There'll be times when I watch a Netflix series and the Netflix series is super cool. During times when I have to work, I'll be watching Netflix. And there'll be times when I'm super duper motivated, right? So over here, I think this story about Mr. A, B, and C, always remember this in our heads and always ask ourselves, are we Mr. A today, Mr. B, or Mr. C? If we always remember, if we have that small little principle in our heads, rest be assured, we will definitely take the correct habits. And when we have good habits, then we will get good results. So over here, my challenge for all the subs over there is that what small habits are we taking on today? What small actions are we taking on today? Hopefully, when we know, hopefully, if we are not taking the not so right actions, what we can do is we can always course correct. You know, that's the amazing thing about us human beings. Like I said, we can have the dreams of being the best investor. We can have the dreams of being the best app developer. We can one day want to be the best teacher or whatever. The thing is that we can choose whatever we want to be. But always remember that whatever we want to be, pick the right habits. Okay, with that, guys, I know it's a super small, short episode. I know it's pretty intuitive what I'm trying to say over here. If you want to lose weight, eat less. If you want to be great investors, always read books. But I think what it is sometimes we tend to forget. And especially during this PKP season, it is so easy to get sidetracked. In fact, these 2 or 3 days, I'm sure you would have seen that I have not created that many episodes. And one of the reasons why, to be very truthful to you guys, I've been watching a couple of Netflix series and I've been on a Netflix binge. But having said that, after I heard this small little story, which I want to share with you guys, always remember, it's the small little actions that will give you the great results. And always be consistent with that small action.